Hi, and welcome to day one of the Flexibility Challenge. We're doing some gravity yoga this evening. A few things to cover before we get going about gravity yoga and how to do it safely. I will repeat these each day for the benefit of whoever's attending live this session. Firstly, when you're doing gravity yoga, especially if it's your first time, which for many of you it will be, it's good to remember if you have any injuries or niggles within your body, that if they're being used in a particular pose, then it's best to follow the 80% rule. And what that means is that you do the pose with about 80% of your full effort. The second point is relating to safe usage in the poses. At any point, you shouldn't get shooting pains in your joints. So if you feel at any point a shooting pain in your knees or your back, obviously back off from the stretch immediately and stop it there and then. You're obviously aiming to try and get a stretch within each pose, but you shouldn't feel that at any point. So before we get into the poses, we're going to do two different poses today. One is the Ragdoll Pose, which I'll demonstrate in a minute. And the aim will be to hold it for a maximum of 5 minutes. And then we'll do another one, which is a left and right pose called brain's gone for a moment. It's I totally had a mind blank. We'll do Ragdoll and I'll come back to Pigeon Pose. Thank you. And the Pigeon Pose has got a left and right side, again, both for 5 minutes. I will be timing them as we go. The only prop you may need today is some books, as you can see here. They're not very big, but they you may or may not need them, and they're only about 4 to 5 inches high. So that's enough talking. We'll get into a pose. I will go through the 3 principles of gravity yoga as we go through each pose. The first one is 4 to 8 breathing, and that means breathing in through your nose for 4 and out through your mouth for 8. So quite a slow breathe in, as slow as you can, and a slow exhale through your mouth. And we will go through that as we go into the pose. Second one is wet noodle, which means basically relaxing in the pose as much as you can. We'll get into the pose and then you relax the rest of the body. Again, this will become more apparent once we actually start doing the poses. And then finally, you want to try and meet and beat your hold time, which is up to a maximum of 5 minutes. So I will run you through those principles as we go into each pose, and I will talk through them as we go. So firstly, as I said, it's called a Ragdoll Pose. So this is actually done standing. I'll show you from a couple of angles. Hopefully you'll be able to see well enough from the camera. So feet about hip width apart, and then you fold your arms over and very gently bend forward, bending the knees slightly, and just bend forward with your arms held like this. And we're going to start holding the pose now. So I'm going to start off the timer. So the idea where the wet noodle comes into it is the relaxation of the body whilst holding it. So there's a slight bend in your knees, and you're holding your hands on your elbows, and you're just trying to relax. So now we're going to bring into the 4 to 8 breathing. So you breathe in through your nose as slow as you can, and then out through your mouth, making a ha sound. Breathe in for 4. And out for 8. So when you're breathing in, you're breathing in as slow as you can, and then you're exhaling, making a kind of sound as you do. So with me again, breathe in slowly for 4, breathe in, and then out for 8. So you're relaxing your head down as much as you can, letting gravity. You might want to drop your hands towards the floor. No worries if your hands don't reach. How far you go really isn't important. It is slight bend in the knees and just relaxing, letting gravity take over. So the reason we hold the stretches for so long is to overcome the stretch reflex, which really stops us from gaining mobility. And this tends to, the reason we use the breath is to overcome that stretch reflex and bring in the parasympathetic nervous system. This tends to happen around after the 2-minute mark. We've done 2 minutes now in the stretch, in pose, and keep with the 4 to 8 breathing. So very slowly try and breathe in for 4 and out for 8. Breathe in for 4 and out for 8. So keep with that breathing, keep it breathing in through your nose for 4 and out through your mouth for 8. If you end up just breathing in for 3, that's fine, and out for 6, that's also fine. Just try and breathe through in as slow as you can and out through your mouth as slow as you can. So we've come up to over 3 minutes now. We're still going well, so keep with the breathing and just keep trying to relax as much as you can. Obviously, when you're standing up, you can't relax completely because obviously you need to keep your legs to keep you standing. But you can certainly relax the upper body, and there's a slight bend in the knees. So breathe in for 4 and out for 8. So in terms of where you place your hands, you can keep hanging on to your elbows and just relaxing the head, let everything drop down. So we've got past the 4-minute mark. We're about to coming up on 5 minutes. Keep with the 4 to 8 breathing. So remember, breathe in for 4 and out for 8. There are certain poses in gravity yoga where it's easier to breathe in for 4 and out for 8. Generally when there's no pressure on the rib cage. But as I said, just try and do your best in terms of slowly breathing in through your nose and then slowly breathing out through your mouth. Keep with that. So last few seconds, and then we're going to slowly come back up to standing. So that's it. We've got to 5 minutes. So just very gently roll yourself back up to standing, and we'll take it down onto the floor, move into the next pose. So if you wish to take a seat on the floor, just spend a couple of seconds in child pose, and then we'll move into the next pose. Right, so second pose we're going to do this evening is pigeon pose. So it's left and right side. Again, I will time it The aim will be to get to 5 minutes. Now, pigeon pose really depends on the exact position. You may or may not need books under this part of your bum. So where you line up your shin is kind of key to how much of a stretch you'll get. Depending on to make it easier, bring the shin angle to 45 degrees, because what you want to do is try and keep your hips facing forwards or over the top rather than twisting. So if I show you slightly from the side as well, you'll see it from this position. So we're trying to get the hips facing down. So we're going to start now. I've got my left side. I'm going to start the hold and we're going to go into the pose. So you've got a couple of positions. You can come down onto your elbows like this, which is slightly easier. And remember, and try and drop the head and start with the 4 to 8 breathing. So you breathe in for your nose for 4 and out for your mouth for 8. Breathe in for 4 and out for 8. So you want to make it a bit more challenging. You can come up on and try and straighten your arms, one hand on your foot and one foot on your knee. Again, drop the head and breathe in for 4 and out for 8. So if you're struggling with that position, then remember, just bring the shin closer to your pelvis and drop down onto your forearms. Again, using the breathing in for 4 and out for 8. And I'm feeling a really good stretch through this part of my bum. So I tend to mix between the two. But what I'm trying to avoid is twisting my hips here. And over time, you'll be able to straighten. The idea is to get the shin more closer to 90 degrees. So again, remember that 80% rule if you're new to the stretch, and go down onto your forearms if you feel it's too intense for your bum there. So we're coming up to 2.5 minutes. Again, it's going to be a 5-minute hold. Now, if you're feeling like it's too much, then and you're getting you're getting up to that 10 out of 10 and it's just too much of a hold, then obviously come out of the pose. But stay with us, stay if you can. The idea is to try and get to a full 5 minutes. So remember, keep going with the breathing. Breathe in for 4 and out for 8. Breathe in for 4 and out for 8. So obviously there's some tension in my arms, but I am trying to drop my head and use that 4 to 8 breathing. Breathe in for 4 and out for 8. Keep going with that breathing. And as you remember, if that gets a bit too intense, you can drop down onto the forearms, which obviously should lessen out the intensity of the stretch. As I keep saying, if it is a bit too much, you can always bring that shin closer towards your body, but do try and keep the pelvis facing downwards. Okay, so we're past the 4-minute mark now. And coming up to the last 40 odd seconds. So again, keep going with the breathing. The breathing should help with the distracting you from the stretch. So breathe in for 4 and out for 8. Breathe in for 4 and out for 8. Okay, coming out of that pose, however you can, quick as you can. Don't spend too long between swapping to the other side. So we're going to go straight into the other side. I'll just reset the clock and off we go again. So this time I've got my right leg crossed over in front of me, and like I said, you're trying to get the pelvis and the bum as close as this side as close as you can to the floor. If you do need to use some books, then pop them under that side. And likewise, as I said, the end position ideally is here, but you will still get a very good stretch, and it will depend on your flexibility on where you start. So if you're new to yoga and haven't done much stretching and you're feeling a bit inflexible, this is the position to start. Breathe in for 4 and out for 8. So you may notice quite a difference between one side and the other after the 5 minutes. And as you relax more, the stretch position will change. But try and keep with the breathing slowly in through your nose for 4 and out for 8. Breathe in for 4 and out for 8. You will also be getting a bit of stretch through the left side as well as in the bum on your right. So I'm going to come back up to straight, still dropping my head and keeping with the 4 to 8 breathing. So breathe in for 4 and out for 8. So like I said, try and do as best as you can, breathing in slowly for 4 and through your nose and out for 8 through your mouth. Personally, I find it harder to breathe in slower than I do for the longer out breath, but it varies from person to person. Just keep trying to concentrate on it and relax with the wet noodle as much as you can. So just to recap, the 3 principles of gravity yoga. One is the 4 to 8 breathing, which we've been doing. The second is the wet noodle, the relaxation as much as you can within the pose, letting gravity take over and relax you. And then the third is to meet or beat your hold time. So there will be some poses that we will do short for 5 minutes. And again, if you feel like you need to come out of the pose, that's absolutely fine. Just try and make a note of roughly when you've come out. The time now is just coming up to 4 minutes, and we're nearly there, nearly at the 5 minutes, another minute to go. So remember, breathe in for 4 and out for 8. So each breath cycle should be around 12 seconds. So it means that we're only getting 5 complete breaths in every minute, or 5 or so, maybe 5.5, depending on how quickly you're breathing. So now we only got 30 seconds to go. So it's a couple more breaths. Breathe in for 4 and out for 8. So keep with that breathing, the last few seconds, and then we'll come out of the pose. Okay, brilliant, well done. So come out of the pose however you want, as quickly as you can. We'll quickly go into child's pose. If you feel like it's really going to sleep, just give your legs a bit of a whack, and then take a quick lie down in child's pose. So that's it for today. Well done on completing your first day of gravity yoga. For those of you who will be watching it on replay, do feel free to ask any questions and pop it in the comments box. I will get back to you as soon as I pick up the message. Thanks for joining me live. I think I've got, see, Sophie's been watching, so nice to see you. And the same time tomorrow evening at 9, we'll be doing a couple of different poses again, which will take around 15 to 20 minutes depending on the poses. But thanks for joining us, and well done on completing the first day. Thanks, have a nice evening.